Welcome to Vivid English Podcast. Hello, everyone. I am James.
And I am Sarah. It is wonderful to be here with you all today.
How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you. Feeling quite energetic and ready to chat. How about you?
I'm doing great, and I'm really excited about our topic. We have a very special conversation planned.
We certainly do. Today, we're going to talk about the planet. Specifically, we're going to explore some of the essential vocabulary around, environmental issues.
Right. Things like sustainability, green technology, all for the year 2026.
Exactly. Because if you want to discuss these important topics confidently in English, you really need this set of words.
It's so true. It helps you understand the news, but also it helps you express your own opinions more clearly.
It's about having the right tools to say exactly what you mean.
Exactly. So let's break this down. Where should we start? Maybe with the big picture.
A great place to start.
Okay, so I think many of us have heard the term global warming for years.
Yeah.
It's like the classic term.
Nice.
But recently, I hear people saying climate crisis or climate emergency instead. Is there actually a difference?
That is a great question. And yes, there is a very important difference. For a long time, we used global warming.
Right. It sounds very little. It means the temperature is going up.
Precisely. It refers specifically to the rise in Earth's temperature. It's just about the heat. But scientists and journalists, they realized the word warming sounds a bit gentle.
Gentle.
Yeah, think about it. Warming can sound pleasant, like, warming up by a fire.
Ah, I see what you mean. The reality of what's happening is definitely not so pleasant.
Exactly. The situation is much more serious. So the language has shifted. We now prefer terms like climate crisis or climate emergency.
Because they sound more urgent.
Yes, that is the key word, isn't it? Urgency. These words tell us this is a serious problem that needs our attention right now.
That makes so much sense. I mean, if I say there's an emergency in the kitchen, you run. If I say it's warming in the kitchen, you might just take off your jacket.
That is a perfect analogy. And these terms, they also cover more than just the heat. When we say climate crisis, we're talking about everything. Extreme weather, rising sea levels. It's the whole picture.
Okay, that's a really helpful distinction. I think this is a great chance to practice this sentence.
Let's hear it.
For everyone listening, you can try saying this. We are facing a global climate emergency that requires immediate action.
Perfect. Using a word like emergency really shows you understand the topic.
I agree completely. Okay, so let's zoom in a little. We've talked about the big picture. What about, us as individuals?
This brings us to a term that has become very, very common, carbon footprint.
I hear this one all the time. But what exactly is a carbon footprint?
Well, imagine you're walking on a sandy beach. You leave a mark behind you, right? A footprint. Your carbon footprint is kind of like that, but it's invisible. It is the total amount of greenhouse gases produced by your actions.
So everything I do, like driving my car or...
Almost everything, yes. Driving, heating your house, the food you eat, the clothes you buy, all of these activities release gases. The total amount is your footprint.
I see. So we want a smaller carbon footprint, right?
Exactly. A smaller footprint means less harm to the planet. You want to tread lightly.
Okay, I have a great example sentence for this one. I am trying to reduce my carbon footprint by walking to work.
That is a classic example. And talking about reducing carbon leads us to another really important term, net zero.
Net zero. Right. I see companies promising to be net zero by 2030. What does that mean? Is it just zero pollution?
Not exactly. Net zero is about balance. It's the goal of balancing the carbon you emit or put out with the carbon you remove from the atmosphere.
Oh, so it's like a bank account. You want the deposits and the withdrawals to balance out.
That is a wonderful way to think about it. Yes. So if a company produces some carbon, they need to do something else, like planting a forest, to take that same amount of carbon out of the air.
So the result is zero,
Yeah,
net zero.
you've got it. And all of this falls under a really big umbrella word, sustainability.
Ah, yes, sustainability. So what's the core meaning?
Sustainability is, well, it's a beautiful idea, really. It just means meeting our needs today without messing things up for future generations.
I love that. It's about not using everything up now.
Exactly. Thinking long term.
Okay, speaking of our actions, let's talk about the things we own. We've all heard of the classic 3 Rs, right?
Oh, yes, the classics. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Right. But there is a newer term I really like, feels more creative. It's upcycling.
Oh, I love upcycling. It is such a fun concept.
It is. So for our listeners, upcycling is a little different from recycling. When you upcycle, you take old items and you create something of higher value.
Yes, you make it better than it was before. It's so creative, you're upgrading it.
Do you have an example? I feel like you'd be good at this.
I do. Last month, I took some old wooden pallets, the rough wood they use for shipping things.
Yeah, they usually just look like trash behind a store.
Right. But I took them, sanded them down, painted them, and I upcycled them into a coffee table.
Oh, that's such a creative idea. You turn trash into furniture.
Yes. And that idea connects to a larger concept called the circular economy.
Circular economy. Okay, so I'm imagining a circle.
It is a circle. Our normal economy is a straight line. We make something, we use it, and then we throw it away.
Right. Buy, use, toss, a line to the trash can.
Exactly. But a circular economy is a system where products are repaired, reused, and recycled. Nothing is thrown away. It all goes back into the circle.
So in a circular economy, waste doesn't really exist.
That's the goal. It's a very hopeful vision, I think. But, we have to be a little careful.
How so?
Well, sometimes companies say they are sustainable, but they aren't telling the whole truth. And this brings us to a very critical term, greenwashing.
Greenwashing. That does not sound good.
It isn't. Greenwashing is when a company spends more time and money marketing itself as green than actually being green.
So it's a trick. They'll like put a picture of a leaf on the package, but inside they're still polluting.
Exactly. They are pretending to be green to get your money.
That is so important to know. Here's a sentence you could use if you see this happening. I stopped buying from that brand because I realized their green campaign was just greenwashing.
A very strong sentence. It shows you're a smart consumer.
Absolutely. Okay, let's sift gears a bit. Let's explore the ins and outs of energy and technology. We hear a lot about renewable energy.
Yes, this is the future. Renewable energy comes from sources that don't run out, like the sun, the wind, and water.
Because the sun will shine again tomorrow.
Exactly, it renews itself. The opposite is fossil fuels.
Things like coal, oil, and natural gas.
We burn them, they release carbon, and they will eventually run out. So the big transition is moving from fossil fuels to renewables.
And a huge part of that is EVs, right? Electric vehicles.
EVs are everywhere now in 2026. It feels like gas stations are slowly turning into charging stations.
They are. But here's where it gets really interesting for me. The connection between artificial intelligence AI and the planet.
Yes. AI for the planet. How does that work?
Well, AI is incredible at analyzing data. So we're using it to optimize energy use in smart cities.
Optimize. So make it more efficient.
Exactly. The AI can figure out exactly when a city needs power and when it can save power. It balances everything so we don't waste electricity.
That's fascinating. So a computer is helping us be more efficient.
Yes, instantly. So a great sentence for this is, my smart home uses AI to minimize energy waste during peak hours.
Very cool. And peak hours means the busy times, right? When everyone is using electricity.
That's right. So while all that high-tech stuff is amazing, we shouldn't forget about simple daily habits.
You are so right. The vocabulary of daily life is sometimes the most important. For instance, the goal of zero waste.
Zero waste. Wow. That sounds difficult.
It is a challenge. It is the goal of producing no trash at all. Nothing for the landfill.
Which means you have to avoid the big villain of the story.
Yeah.
Single-use plastic.
Oh, definitely. Single-use plastic. These are things like straws or plastic bags that you use one time and then throw away.
They last for centuries, but we use them for, what, 5 minutes?
Exactly. Refusing them is a great first step. Another great habit is composting.
Composting. That's for food waste, isn't it?
Yes, it's the process of turning things like banana peels and apple cores into nutrient-rich soil for a garden.
So instead of throwing food in the trash, you turn it into something new. Okay, that brings us to our closing thought. We have covered a lot of vocabulary today,
We have.
but it all comes down to what we do. So I want to ask you a personal question before we go.
Go ahead.
What is one small change you made this year to be more eco-friendly?
Ooh, that's a lovely question. Let me think. Okay, this year I started using a subscription service for zero waste cleaning products.
Oh, how does that work?
They send me refills in glass bottles, so I don't throw away any plastic spray bottles. I just refill the same one over and over.
Oh, that is fantastic. And convenient, too.
It is. It is a small change, but it reminds me that I have a choice.
That's so great. It really shows that you don't have to be perfect. Every small step counts when we're talking about the future of our planet.
I couldn't agree more. If we all take those small steps, together we make a giant leap.
Well said. We really hope this has given all of you the vocabulary you need to talk about these things.
Yes, and please try using these words in your next conversation.
Absolutely. And before we go, we just have one small request. Be sure to tune in to Vivid English Podcast next time.
Yes, please don't forget to subscribe and come back to the Vivid English Podcast. We have so many more interesting things to explore with you.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.